poem I knew was, of course, A Pint of Plain. And I forgot to bring it up with me here to show it to you, just in case you don't know what it is. But it came from At Swim Two Birds by Reno Newlawn. And actually, At Swim Two Birds is based on a saga that took place just above Shannon Bridge on the Shannon. It was a ford, and it's on this ford that St. Patrick's is supposed to have crossed into Connacht. No, that's stretching it a little. But anyway, that's my long introduction to A Pint of Plain is Your Only Man. When things go wrong and will not come right, though you do the best you can, when life is dark, black as the dark of night, a pint of plain is your only man. And after all these years, I still don't know it. When money's tight and hard to get, and your horse has also ran, when all you have is a heap of debt, a pint of plain is your only man. When health is bad, and your heart feels strange, and your face is pale and wan, and doctors say you need a change, a pint of plain is your only man. When food is scarce and your larder's bare, and no rashers grease your pan, and hunger grows as the meals grow rare, a pint of plain is your only man. In time of trouble and lousy strife, you still got a darling plan. You still can turn to a better life. A pint of plain is your only man. Thank you. Getting into the serious business of the night now, we call on Brian to get the ball rolling.
Thanks, George. This is just, I suppose, a memory of the 25 years. We were at this poetry for about 25 years. Some of the stuff, it will bring you to tears. They talk pure nonsense as well they might. Some of the folks says nothing but polite. Was it by chance or was it by ballot? The name suggested was the Pallet. We searched for what seemed like an age, and in Waller's Yard was the perfect stage. Young and old have graced this floor. One great poet even fell through the door. He's here intact. No. They were foreigners and natives vying for glory, each coming in verse to tell their story. They have flocked in their throngs to Shawnee's bar, some for poetry, some for the jar. The crack is mighty and better each year, and grabbing pens as time draws near. No man bucker money, no Nobel Prize. We demand strict rules, no compromise. Possess your own teeth in a drug-free zone, not to mention complying with sweetness of tone. George will check you and see that you do. Judges' bribes are accepted, a whiskey or two. You see the great names that have graced the plaque, some serious poets and some for the crack. So come all ye inspired and slap up a note. Just come to the Pallet, we'll make you a poet. We remember tonight the poets that have left us, whose prowess and phrase still ever beguile us. We remember their charm and their smile, now with their maker. We remember their wit, their charm and their smile. They were only on loan for a very short while. Now with their maker they peer through the gates, wondering who be the next great Heaney or Yeats. St. Peter goes over to see what's the racket. Ed quickly tells him, be quiet, we're here for the Pallet. Someone said to me, I remember the very first poem that was read here. and she quoted a line from it. So I give you all the lines now. It was the very first poem, 25 years ago. In my mind I fly where I oft did lie on Brosna's winding stream. I caught a trout, I drank the stout, Dan Tracy's pint was good. But the best I got was from Johnny Hawk in good old Banagher town. In summer days in midday haze I can turnips small and green. Boss Daly's mule drove home our turf, a load was a half a crown. I wonder if he's drawn is still in good old Banagher town. I remember well as I oft heard tell of heroes brave and bold, who fought there free their country from tyranny and crown. Don't I regret or e'er forget our barns from Banagher town. Is Larkin's forge still making shoes where we gathered as young men? The sound of anvil in my ears comes to haunt me now and then. Is the tossbit still atop the hill? I hear the halfpennies fall. I tossed them high up to the sky. I saw the heads come down. Oh God, I'd give you all my wealth for one glimpse at Banagher town. Shin Shin. The second poem that I read, and you've heard it a million times since. A silver mist was biting brisk against my dampened face. I said goodbye to Ireland's I'd and I kissed and left the place. She rode into a sky of blue, that big and mighty bird, but damn, 'twas a monster plane that brought me pain I can't describe in word. I left behind some friends of kind, some heather in the bloom, some lonely heart, but hope, hope just like the moon. Of crank road walks and nighttime talks and pints of porter black, with sweetened dreams but hours away my mind it wanders back. I stand atop of Kieran's hill and I view that valley green, where poets have dwelt and saints have knelt down by the Shannon stream. I see again those two round towers brushed by Shannon's wave, and I curse the day that I went away to dig a foreign grave. 'Twas Auckram's slopes in the ending skies and Lusma's fields so green. Seven sisters on a distant hill through the silver mist are seen. A bogman plods his weary path in clothing old and grey. There's a humble donkey by his side, they'll rest for another day. 'Twas Hollywood sights with their neon lights, their colours wild and free. Though 6,000 miles from Banagher town, I knew they'd beckon me. It was in Chicago town that I sat me down on many a barroom stool. I drank me fill of beer and gill and I oft became a fool. 'Twas concrete skies with apartments high of glass and wood and tar, and I rode a day and off the way that I wandered near and far. But now I'm home no more to roam from the Brosna's winding stream. I'll drink me pint, hold high me head, and every day I'll dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We now call on Lula Murray. Andy, please. Both in early spot. Both in early spot.
Thank you. It's about, it must be 8 years or something since we were standing on the Pallet. It seems like a good while ago. I did find a piece of paper yesterday about another poem I was going to write, but it was too late. But anyway, I put this one together and it's called, what would you call it? A kind of like a rebel poem. Seeing the year that's in it. It's 100 years since the women got the vote. And I'm going to read it out of memory of my mum because she was a kind of an old rebel as well. So anyway, I'm just going to read or sing the first line. As George told me one time when he was coming in here with other poems, Nuala, these are not poems, these are half songs. So anyway, here we go. The Traveller called is written by Clifford T. Ward, and if anyone knows the song, the first verse will be in, just sing it. if I can. I'm not a good singer anyway. Anyway, my story tonight is Mary meets Constance. And if you know anybody knows the history, they'll know about Constance. Anyway. On the day when Mary and Constance sat down together, it was a fine sunny day, as they sat by O'Connor's statue in Eyre Square. They came a-singing from a public gathering, going on in the middle of the village fair. So Constance spoke and said, I was born poor boot to the Boer boot family and hailed from John Bull, but ended up in Ireland to support this rebel pull. And Mary, she hesitated and spoke with great conviction. I was born a Doherty, right here from Tribal City, but I couldn't handle that convent in education, so I ended up in Sassenach. Ha, it's more the pity. Constance said, I married the Count and became a mother to his son, and we added to our family another little one. So I fought for Irish freedom and I joined that Sinn Féin band. But that's what it's all about. I even set up that soup kitchen and implicated in the Dublin lockout. Mary says, I wedded my lover and became Mrs. Coughlin, and regardless of my singing, to which I did belong, having 3 children, I was a struggling housewife and trying to embrace married life and my mental strife. Constance, now the Countess she is. I hated these old wars, and by nature I was a philosopher, a pacifier. But those old English colonists were forcing this conflict upon us. And Mary said, I felt no love in my heart for those English places, smothering, trying to keep up with the races. I was invisible to my man of the world. I headed back home to my family fold. And the Countess said, I fought in 1916 Rising, a revolver ready for the prizing. I could have spent a lifetime in jail, only that I had a prestige name. But I do wish they had the decency to shoot me, just like those gallant men of our legacy. And Mary says, I fought the battle of the demon drink. It kept me under influence at every wink. I was tired and emotional, and no way a stiller, but I became an emotional or a sentimental killer. And the Countess says, I was elected to the House of Commons, and that was a major feat in its own right. But I refused to take that seat because I had a Parliament Dáil Éireann in my sight. Mary, my life was nobody's business. My land was too grieved, just full of the Magdalen laundries, scandals by the score, hidden under the hierarchy, until the women brought them to the fore. Constance says, I was pledged as a rebel, an unconventional rebel, and the one thing, a free and independent republic, and a right for a woman to have a vote. Well, you know, I achieved that in 1918. Now you please take note. Well, Mary says, well, I'm still alive and kicking, even after the fall, back living in Galway, singing the blues, and other people's songs and all. Oh, she said, that public gathering seems to be a centenary celebration of the unchained suffragettes. And I hope Delaney doesn't go back on the wine and stay on that strong fruit and keep her life in the line. And then the crowd starts singing. Yes, the Countess loves us. Yes, the Countess loves us. She got the right to vote for us, and so the history tells us so. Well, Mary moved forward, just so she could hear. And when she looked around, the Countess, she had disappeared. So Mary hummed a little song to herself, called Ride On. See you, Countess, I could never go with you, even if I wanted to. Got to stay here. They could rub their claws across my gut, so I'd keep up the good work and the rights for the women. Good luck. The end.
Thank you, Lolo. Well done. And next we have Tommy Chick Clear. All the way from Garden Park.
Not that far away, George. A bannerman's difficulties with the Dutch language. It's next to impossible, they said. Verbs are all in the proper places, they said. And there are plenty of them, they said. Started off with breakfast. Little did I know I was saying biting, and I thought I was talking about my dog. This, of course, won't bite, but live and learn. Or then again, you have a long A or a short A, as in sack or in sock. Then to work, when I was asked to get shoes for your hands, gloves. Our time, when 9:30 is really 8:30. Our ringing in the 90s using a dial phone, then 2 and 40 is really 42, every time I rang the wrong number. The list is long, but I will go on. Mirror egg is a fried egg. Monster means sample. Sick car is an ambulance. Toilet seat becomes toilet glasses. Windhound is a greyhound. A cow foot is a crowbar. Garden hose is a garden snake. But my all-time favourite is clean mother, mother-in-law. And now it's time to hit the bar and order 3 beer and a bit of wine. Tootsies!
Well done, Tommy. Thank you. Yeah, and next, sorry, please, Rosemary Porter.
I'm not quite sure what order to do these in, but take them as you hear them. This is a tribute banner. They went in search of fortune. They went in search of fame. They went to preach the gospel, baptizing in God's name. They went to fight for freedom. They went to fight for bread. They packed the emigrant liners. The Atlantic took their dead. They worked in London's underground and in the hospitals above. They kept the peace in New York streets and taught the young to love. Some have felt the hangman's noose. Some languished in death's row, believing what they did was right. Will we ever know? Some have become great millionaires, built up giant estates. Others wasted precious time and gambled for high stakes. Some return with tales of fortune, some with tales of woe. But many never will return to see the Shannon flow. But thankfully, not everyone decided so to roam. Now we must pay tribute to those who stayed at home. They fished the Shannon, worked the bogs, kept the home fires burning. They built their houses into homes. The cycle goes on turning. They taught the young and nursed the sick and laid our dead to rest. They turned the sod on Curon's hill, their courage put to test. They welcome home the traveller from journeys far and near, and even for the stranger, hospitality is here. The town has known its tragedies, the town has had its woes, but sharing with the neighbours has helped to lessen those. Troubles are of time outweighed with joy that knows no bounds. When success strikes, the town responds with trophied heroes' sounds. So, pay a well-earned tribute and lift your glasses high to the people of Banagher. May their great spirit never die. Thank you very much. Thank you. Slightly different, but not too different, I'm afraid. I tend to be a little bit on the sad side. This is called wayfaring. She strums her way around the world until her future is unfurled. Now, street music is her scene, forgetting the career that might have been. She finds strange lovers on the way, listens sometimes to what they say. She might believe them for a while, or walk away without a smile. She'll forge a niche, carve her name, knowing her fortune will be the same. Bright lights beckon, she must go to find that place she does not know. Will inspiration come, or should she run to that distant utopia in the sun? Forsake this life of mad extremes, knowing the world's not what it seems. Should she return to greener hills, fields of gold where the blackbird trills, find a place to kneel and pray, try to remember what to say. Village lights beckon on a mountainside. At last, she's not looking for a place to hide, knowing she'll be welcomed with open arms, home from a life of meaningless charms. She'll play her music to listening ears, lay to rest a life of fears, tell her tales of love and hate, stories of a different fate. Place her faith in a newfound hope, a slave no longer to fatal dope. She'll settle down despite despair in lengthening twilight and silvering hair. I come back later.
Thank you, Rosemary. Well done. And we will indeed hear you later. You realise that this might go on into the small hours of the morning. Anyway, but next we have a new poet in the town. And he can't wait to get to the microphone.
This is my first time ever doing anything like this. My poem now will be different, more serious than what you have this. This one is The Old Woman of the Road. Ought to have a little house to hold the heart and stool and all. The heaped up sads upon the fire, a pile of turf against the wall. To have a clock with weights and chains, and pendulum swinging up and down, a dresser filled with shining death, speckled white and blue and brown. I could be busy here all day, cleaning and sweeping my heart and floor, and fixing on my shelf again, my pipe and pickle store. I could be quiet here at night, beside a fire and by myself, sure of a bed and a load to sleep, the ticking clock and shining dead. Oh, but I'm weary of the night, mist and dark, and the roads where neither a house nor a bush, and tired I am of bog and road, and the crying wind and the lonesome hush. And I'm praying to God on high, and I'm praying to Him night and day, for a little house, a house of my own, out of the wind and the rain's way. The Mother by P.H. Pierce. I do not grudge them, Lord, I do not grudge my 2 strong sons I have seen go out to break their strength and die. They and a few in bloody protest of a glorious thing. They shall be spoken of among their people. The generation shall remember them and call them blessed. But I will speak their names to my own heart in the long nights. The little names that were familiar once around my dead heart. Lord, our hard on mothers. We suffer in their coming and going. And though I grudge them not, I weary of the long sorrow. And yes, I have my joy. My sons were faithful and fought. This is one now in Irish, Boston copy. She'd haven a slave that a honey make copy book. Beyond Zook but from her aiden, the pillar treated up. He say you want on a heart, you want over the Higgins and me. Agus éan a air a flaca, and therefore fluckan a knee. Samohan in slave vi vanning gullis a queen, or queen her son a hela, a chupfors a ras quia. A mother navi a queenum, avi a grisha a queen. His father go willy daddy, she sees agus leg the ski. The Adam a vic the Adam, that can happen more enough. Vader party go na her to fail a vic the up. Ach dan shade an arch in the hit shade, agus pillar shaded up. Agus pillar shaded up. Ach surely air an Ian Jorian, or son of side your boat. Now, thank you.
Next we have one of our, Tom came in from the far end of Coolfin, so, but this next person came a bit further. And we have Edith Bleeper.
Well, hello. I'm from Holland. I don't speak English very well. I wish I could because I love talking. The people here think I'm really easy and quiet, but that's a little problem. Look, I wrote something down. When I think about Ben-Hur, I see the turf fields and smell the smell of it. When I think about Ben-Hur, it reminds me of the stray horses at the horse fair and the main street covered with shit. When I think about Ben-Hur, I have memories of all the lovely people I met. When I think about Ben-Hur, I see myself in every pub in this town. And it reminds me of the hangovers I had. When I think about Ben-Hur, I get a smile on my face. Because I really, really like this place.
Thank you, that's why we like having you here. You said the nicest things. Next we have our own poet and long-serving member of this gathering, Dave Boyle.
Back up again.
Yeah, I didn't have much time to write anything new, so I've gone back into the... So, this is called Rathkeil Rosie. Long years ago, back when I was a boy, I found it tough making friends, due to being quite shy. And as for girlfriends and dates, well, none seemed my type. That was long before email, the Snapchat and Skype. I couldn't talk to my parents, I felt so alone, till I discovered some adverts in the back of the Ireland Zone. Long legs and eyelashes, likes jigging and reeling, with a bosom real curvy, which to me was appealing. So I wrote her a letter expressing desires to spend cold winter's nights cuddled up by the fire, and to join her in dancing her jigs and her reels, and admire those long legs in short skirts and high heels. After 2 weeks watching the Post and Telegraph's van, the day finally came, a reply from Madame. I climbed under the bed, and the envelope I ripped, and on reading the contents, my stomach had flipped. She too fancied me, from what I could see. I thought of my acne and my dodgy left knee. Then I glanced at the paper. With a kiss it was sealed, and the postmark was Limerick, the town of Rathkeil. What would I tell mother, or even my dad? If they thought I might leave them, they'd be roaring mad. But Limerick was calling, and my long-legged Rosie, wrapped up in a blanket by the fireside so cosy. After several hours thinking, I drew up a plan, and I told Mammy and Daddy that Rosie was a man. He was a fella I met at a match in Rossgrey, and was going down to see him, and for the night I would stay. My mother was worried about me travelling alone. She'd have no means of contact. There was no mobile phones. There was a tear in my eye as she waved at the door. I suppose it was normal. I was only 34. Well, my father, he drove me to the bus stop in Burr. I had nothing to say to him. All I could think of was her. Then I hopped on the bus, and my thoughts fueled with Cupid. I was smiling so much I must have looked awful stupid. In Portumna and Nina, we stopped for a rest. What a joy to be travelling on the Rathkeil Express. We had a pit stop in Limerick and a piddle in Adair. I couldn't wait to meet Rosie in her long flowing hair. Well, the bus had finally got there. We arrived in Rathkeil. I'd at last meet my Rosie. Oh, it felt so surreal. Her abode, she told me, was a few yards from there, number 6 on the main street, right across from the square. Well, me heart, it was thumping, and I started to knock. And then came out young Rosie in a bright coloured frock. Now, her legs, they were thicker than she wrote in the ad. But in the dimly lit light, I suppose she didn't look too bad. With a warm welcome smile, she beckoned me in. Her breasts were so large they were touching her chin. Her flaming red hair, it covered her eyes like a robber or a bandit in heavy disguise. After some pleasant chat, we sat down by the fire. As she crossed her long legs, the dress went up higher. Then she leaned over to me as if to embrace. My stomach was heaving. I was all over the place. We were close on the sofa. As the dress went up further, I was thinking about home and me father and mother. Then right there and then I was about to indulge, when between her legs I saw this great bulge. I made such a leap that I knocked Rosie down, and 2 heads of cabbage fell out of her gown. Her womanly features, my eyes did catch, were sadly homegrown in a vegetable patch. Well, I made for the door like a bat out of hell. The encounter with Rosie left me feeling unwell. I thought of the lies that I told to my mother, and I promised myself I'd not tell another. Now many years have passed by, and now I'm doing grand. I've a wife and a family on a free piece of land. 6 sons and 5 daughters, doing the best that I can, all living together in a large caravan. You see, the day I fled Rosie in the town of Rathkeil, I met darling Winnie as I crossed the wide field. She was boiling a kettle upon a warm fire, and her startling beauty I stopped to admire. 'Twas just 3 months later in the church we did wed, and I took Winnie home to her marital bed. Now I love all things about her. She's shapely and tall, and the best thing about her, she was born with them all. Something a little bit different, but I just couldn't let the night go without marking this. There's just a few words that I wrote about Confirmation Day this year in Banagher, and it's called The Last Picture of You. I stood there full of everything, sadness, disbelief, denial, frustration. But you sat there smiling, cloaking your pain. You were happy you made it. Today was your goal. For him, you loved him as equal as you loved their others. As I gazed through the lens, I saw beauty. I saw mother. I saw caring. I saw contentment. I saw pride. I saw loving. I saw courage. I saw acceptance. As I took the last picture of you, I saw Pam. Thank you. And I'll leave you with this one. I hadn't planned on this one, but Elaine likes it, so this is called Before You Leave Banagher. They say that travel broadens the mind. You'll hear it up and down. But the mind can find education in the characters of a town. Now, I've never been to China, Pakistan or Commons West, but to venture through the hometown is the journey I like the best. I bought screws from Kieran Coakley, both loose and by the pound, and a tracksuit from Lorna Hogan in the sport shop up the town. I drank rabbit soup in Nallans, in between the pints of stout, while Ollie loaded up the dogs and Biddy given out. Snooker down the West End with Paddy Kenny and Gerard Lynn, while Tom Flynn crunched bags of glossy sweets, creating an awful din. When Simon supplied the bacon, I sliced rashers and boned ham, while Tom Dempsey gave the orders as he filled up the van. I remember Father John McNally calling to the school when he was home, and how fierce important I always felt, 'cause he was one of our own. On and on a Christmas morning, singing songs and telling yarns, while the adults wet their whistles in the home of Peter Barnes. I drank tea in Ballyactor, came in the door around the back, had brown bread with loads of butter, and a word with Kitty Mack. And on polling day at election time, checking lists and drinking tea, with banter tales and stories from that Eta Killalay. I remember one Christmas morning, Mick Corrigan delivering drink, a wooden box of bottles, and he threw in a bottle opener, I think. Quigley's and green anoraks, oh, the colour made me sick, as Ev pulled up the zipper and said, "Ah, sure, it's perfect for you, Vic." I talked horses with Jim Reynolds, watching racing on TV, discussing who was the greatest, was it Piggott or Edery? Bank holiday Monday evenings by the fire in Simmy's bar, singing songs with Mikey Hinchy. Joe Kennedy was never far. I've rolled around with laughter at Billy Burke's verse and jargon. I've watched Peter Wynn's gentle hands bring magic to a garden. As a boy, the finest toy I had was a barrow made of timber, made by the kind and gifted hands of Harry Johnson, I remember. I stacked shelves in Jackie Rylands with Maureen at the till. Is it our Bobby in Burr golfing still? I hear Jackie roaring still. I've marvelled down in Johnny Hawk's at the doll with dancing feet, and boxcar's battered knuckles as the timber he would beat. I saw turf fall on the main street from Charlie's Daly's cart and ass. I queued for fizzle sticks and sherbet in Mulhair's just after mass. I've enjoyed the subtle tone and verse of a Paddy Tully poem. 'Twas often ringing in my ears as I uphill shuffled home. I bought mousetrap spoons and woolly socks when often I'd call in for the press or independent in the house of Seamus Flynn. On Sunday mornings bright and early at the house with little Gable, I'd watch before the collection as Kieran Foley pulled out the table. When the TV wasn't working, to Jimmy Kennedy we would rush. Sure, he'd always sort you out with something, a Phillips or a Bush. Mrs. Peters sold us ice cream and jelly beans in a can. I remember old Jack Madden and his dog called Dandy Man. At the September Fair on our main street, there was always fun and games. I'd often stood with the Grand Grey Mare, belonging to Michael James. The first time I ever saw magic was above in the primary school. Dennis Lynch could make his thumb disappear, which I thought was very cool. Of the moon's bright silver light, I heard from the songs of Paddy Kelly. I got parcels, cards and letters from the postman, old Dan Shelley. I bought Beano, Shoot and Dandy from newsagent Paddy Flynn. I heard Seanie Madden whistle as he pushed his wheelie bin. I've heard Toot True 1,000,000 times by the twin while holding rank. 'Twas always Mick that said it, not forgetting brother Frank. While Mulvey cured the animals, 'twas Dalton gave the pills, the healing hands of medicine brought to us by those two bills. Pucky Flynn would fill your glass up with whiskey, ale or stout. Then he'd pick you up and dust you off if you had to be laid out. I heard the tunes from Devery's squeeze box of the likes you'll hear no more. But my God, when he took to laughing, sure he'd have you in the snores. So, with your passport in your pocket and your suitcase in the hall, God bless you on your journey, young people one and all. Take care, be kind and honest, and sing a happy song. And remember all the natives in this place from which you're from. Thank you.
All these tall people. Well done, Dave. Thank you very much. Next, we call on Francis Brown.
Hi everybody. Is high enough? Yeah. Maybe I'm not the same height as George after all. Okay. Alright, so I'm half awfully. My mother comes from Glim, near Ferban, and her father was the lockkeeper. So I had great memories of coming down on holidays to the canal. So my poem in the book is called The Lock House. Oh, I need glasses, I forgot. We peered into the well, saw our faces reflected there. Granny plunged a bucket into the black hole, splashing spots of water on us. Younger cousins scurried away, squealing. Grandad minding them from the gander, the bullock, the cock. I remained staring into the abyss, forehead scrunched with wonder. Smoke spooled from a far-off train. We skipped over steps to the scullery. Granny wiping her hands on a flowery apron, smudges of it in her wispy hair. Griddle bread browned on the range, turf fire crackled, an apple tart baked on the lid of a pot, its sugar burnt to treacle. We scraped the sweet toffee with spoons, teeth glued until the stickiness dissolved. In the lamplight, Grandad made shapes with his fingers. Bird, bunny rabbit, cat. We shouted from the settle bed, shadows magically adorning the kitchen wall. Next morning, the bed was folded into a wide wooden bench for us to sit on, while Granny boiled eggs from the hen house for breakfast, tapped the shells to let out a yellowy yolk for soldiers of toast. Off into town on the ass and cart for the pension, gobstoppers, bullseyes, penny bars, quenchers. Home to swing 2 tires from a branch, help Grandad open gates for the boats, get a carry-on to the next lock, walk home along the line, a 6-penny bit warming our palm, swig from a bottle of red lemonade, compliments of the kindly boatman. Bales of hay pricked our legs as we drank tea with men in a field, whiffed their pipe tobacco and an outside lavatory. A rat kept chewing, kept staring at me. I stared back, unable to move. Mad cows chased the children, their shrieks echoing the woods. My face a fright in the deep, dark mirror of the well.
I return now to the lock house with its falling down walls. Bushes sprout from where the roof used to be. Shrubs cover the steps, concealing a crack in the family tree. The well is dried up, Granny's cuddles, the rattle of crockery. Canal water's lap that once lulled us to sleep. A solitary barge bobs by, the only sign of life, a cuckoo's cry. So I actually went to school in Kilcormac. My first 1 or 2 years were spent there. And this is an image or a memory I have of it. And I call it 7. Although I wasn't 7 when this happened. Sister, one of my 7s is back to front. Despite rows of them written immaculate, drawn in blue chalk on slate, blue powder clouding my desk, dusty fingertips, parched tongue. After patiently fashioning each figure, I can only see the one turned wrong. Was it your cross voice that petrified the heart and soul out of me? Your crow-black robe slapping behind, your veil a curtain, the tight white collar creasing your crinkly brow, narrowing your eyes into slits, spit hissing from your thin pink lips? Or was it the wooden bench, hard and cold on my bottom, the ache in my legs, my feet straining to reach the ground, the picture of Jesus, his eyes lighting on me, no matter where I cowered in the room, the smell of the toilet every time the door opened, reminding me I wanted to go. But that would mean raising my hand, and Will Cadogan Dolamock, sniggers from the other girls, my limbs trembling, face on fire, and was it bold to write 1-7 wrong? Fierce bold altogether, sister snarls, as a puddle forms on the floor. Sorry, I say. Okay, so I'll go further afield now to New Orleans. And a friend of mine had asked me to write a poem. They have a project over there called Right to the River about the Mississippi, which I think would be a nice thing to do for the Shannon. So this is what I came up with. And it's called I Do Know What It Means. On stone steps beside the Mississippi, the sun laps my halter neck and knees. A man in white suit plays the trumpet. My hair ripples in the silver river breeze. Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans? He serenades me, Creole brow eclipsed by boater hat. Bayou, James Joyce and I regale the jamboree with our lazy Louisiana duet. Smoky eyes mocking me, he wonders how an Irish gal can sing a blues melody with soul deep and bold like Billie Holiday, or bluegrass lass Maura O'Connell, I say. A year later, Katrina batters the Big Easy. I clutch his creased photograph in my hand. TV screens gush with waters brown and hazy. No harmony ebbs or flows from no jazz band. I fresh for Bourbon Street and Jackson Square, Lafayette, Preservation Hall, my heart is there. Finally, knowing what it means. By a river steamboat, a trumpet still gleams. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. And you now call on Wally Rouse. Kind of a name. Is everybody okay? First of all, I would like to congratulate everybody involved on reaching this milestone. Thanks, George.
And I have a poem tonight. It's not my own poem, needless to say. It's written by a Mayo man, and a man I encountered recently. But it's Going Home to Mayo, winter 1949. And it's by Paul Durkin. Leaving behind us the alien foreign city of Dublin, my father drove through the night in an old Ford Anglia. His 5-year-old son in the seat beside him, the Rexine seat of the red letterette, and the yellow moon peeped in through the windscreen. "Daddy, Daddy," I cried, "pass out the moon." Each town we passed through was another milestone, and their names were magic passwords into eternity. Kilcock, Kinnegad, Strokestown, and Finn, Tarmanbarry, Tulsk, Ballyderring, Ballavary. Now we were in Mayo, and the next stop was Thurlock, the village of Thurlock in the heartland of Mayo. And my father's mother's house, all oil lamps and women, and my bedroom over a public bar below. And in the morning, cattle cries and cock crows, life seemingly seamless garment gorgeously rent by their screeches and bellowings. And in the evening, I walked with my father into the high grass down by the river, talking with him, the unheard of thing in the city. But home was not home, and one moon could not be more outflanked than the daylight nightmare of Dublin City. Back down the canal we chugged into the city, and each lock gate told our mutual doom, and the railings and palings and the asphalt of the traffic lights, and the blocks after blocks of so-called new tenements. Thousands of crosses of loneliness planted. In the narrow grave, the life of the father, in the wide, wide cemetery of the boy's childhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali. Next, we're going to call on a lady with a local name, a foreign lady with a local name, Marian Cleary.
Thank you very much. I'm a little bit nervous because I have to do it in English. But
you'll be okay.
I'm okay. I think I'm okay. And this is, I want to tell you a story about getting in love with an Irish lad. It means a lot at me. Because married with an Irish lad means eating bacon and sausage for breakfast and finding out that it's the best food for an hangover. Married with an Irish lad means when you ask him to explain the difference between the first cousin and the second cousin, he doesn't have a clue. If there's somebody who explain you, please do. Married with an Irish lad means that I find out that drinking Guinness is a way of life. That sometimes, just out of the blue, people start singing. That still gives me, after 25 years, goosebumps. Married with an Irish lad means when you are invited for a wedding, you get a lovely dinner, but you pay your own drink. We don't do that in Holland. In Holland, we say goodbye at 12 o'clock. In Ireland, you never know when the drink stops. And of course, it all starts over again the following day. Married with an Irish lad means my Christmas will never be the same. In Holland, I used to eat rabbits with my family. My father fed them and killed them for the Christmas dinner. Now I eat stuffed turkey and ham and
And it can't be a Christmas dinner without turkey and ham. Married with a banner lad means you get involved with talks about horses and turf. Every time I visit Banner, I learn more about horses and turf from my brother-in-law Patrick. He does the talking, I do the listening. Married with a banner lad means that you're going to watch the most fastest sport ever, hurling. When I saw it for the first time, I really didn't believe what I saw. Fast, hard, and you never know where the ball is. But at the end, drinking and laughing together. Married with an Irish lad means you just fall in love with a beautiful country. And for me special, I fell in love with Banner. You're so kind to me. And many thanks for making me feel at home here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marian. You've said the nicest thing. So folks, we're just going to have one more before we take a break. And we're going to call on another fella who came across the water, James Scully, came all the way up from Meath.
Thanks, George, and congratulations to all involved on 25 years of the Pallet. And before I crossed the bridge, I was a Tullamore Jew. I don't write poems. I've written 3 in 40 years. This one was written 20 years ago, this week I think. It was published in a book called Out the Clara Road. And I went to the launch of that book. And Rita Ann Higgins was the editor. And she said, I hope James Scully isn't here, when she was speaking at the launch, because she said, when I read his poem, I threw it into the bin. But someone said, he's here. Well, thank God, she said, because I can explain. Rule number 1 was, it must be typed, but I sent it in pencil, and I had fairly good handwriting, so she threw it into the bin, retrieved it and brought it back. I don't know where this poem came from. I don't write poems, but if you remember 1998, August, and the 3 games against Clare, I was at a wedding recently and I spent an hour with Michael Bond, and I brought it all back, and I looked up the poem. And I don't know why I focused on John Troy. There was 20 other hurlers, but it was him who appears in this poem. It was his likeness to Van Gogh, particularly at one stage. He had an injury in one ear or his head, and he went round Thurles or Croke Park with a bandage. And Van Gogh at some stage did cut off one of his ears. So this is what came out. August 1998. Did it ever occur to you that John Troy was the Van Gogh of hurling? The ruddish complexion, receding temple, the high cheekbone, modesty to a fault, self-deprecating, those earnest acknowledgements of colleague assists. Tormented by a provincial sun, helmeted like the bandaged Van Gogh, laden with instinctive talent, an artist, the master of his oeuvre. Gifted hand-to-eye coordination, deft flicks, flecks, feints, swirls, twirls, fueling redolent memories for all starry nights. Offaly's titles are all in colour, befitting Bon Try's luminous palette.
strutting the sun-drenched summertime landscapes, creating vivid masterpieces where dimensions are evident only in retrospect. The master craftsman, surreal impressionist, burning intensely on the croker canvas or semper fidelis.
Thank you very much. Lads, we're going to take a 15-minute break to solve just a bit of finger food and a few things or whatever. So thank you for your attention. We'll be back with the second half, and we have a message from Australia in the middle of it.